Hello, I'm David Nelson. Welcome to Newsmax. My next guest needs no introduction. Steve Forbes is a two-time presidential candidate, the chairman of Forbes Incorporated, and a frequent guest on the Fox News channel. Steve, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good to be, David. Thank you.
Steve, I want to get your views on today's conference, but before I do, I want to take you to Washington regarding a breaking story. Just recently we saw the riveting testimony from career diplomat Gregory Hicks. It was very critical of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Ambassador Rice regarding the attacks on our consulate in Benghazi late last year. Steve, you're a political animal. What could this mean for a presidential bid by Mrs. Clinton in 2016?
Well, what it means is, even though most people will have forgotten it by then, or recede in memory, I should say, it is going to be an issue in terms of how you handle a crisis. And even more, she's going to have to answer the question or give a plausible answer. Who concocted the story about the tape? There's nothing in the testimony about that being any part of what happened there. And so was it the political shop doing some cute campaign thing? The White House itself? That is even more of a scandal in terms of the tragedy happens. And then you come up with a story like that in the middle of a campaign. What does that say what their attitude is towards the American people?
I'd have to, think that the Republican Party will certainly play these tapes again from this testimony. It was pretty riveting. It was sad in some respects because he, almost to tears at one point.
Well, it was a human drama of the highest order. And the fact that it played out over several hours, it's one thing to have a quick accident. But this, you could see like a slow motion train wreck. You knew a disaster was underway. What are you going to do about it? And in this day and age in particular, when we think of instant responses, instant aircraft, instant forces at the ready, that the cavalry, so to speak, and has plenty of time to come. But this thing played out for hour after hour after hour. And you could almost feel that they felt that the worst may happen. And the testimony made clear that he felt the worst was unfolding. And what could you do about it? Why wasn't anything being done about it? That is what is just absolutely frightening and frustrating. Again, this was not something that was a few minutes and therefore like a bombing, and therefore it's a reaction time to a disaster. This disaster was slowly unfolding, and yet we couldn't or didn't do anything about it.
I can't let you go without at least getting a comment on Obamacare. And just recently, there have been recent court challenges regarding Obamacare, one even questioning the constitutionality of the law. You're on record saying that Obamacare will eventually collapse of its own weight. What will that look like?
It'll look like a mess. You're having a growing physician shortage in the next few years. People have noticed that prices of insurance are going up, and that's going to hurt the marketplace. Young people, let me tell you, if you're a young person, when you think you're invulnerable, you're immortal, are you going to pay a $95 fine, or are you going to pay, as Rahm Emanuel's brother wrote in the Wall Street Journal the other day, $5,000 to $7,000 for an insurance policy that you don't think you need?
And that's very much what insurance companies are worried about. They're worried about this being struck on the elderly.
If you get sick, the insurer has to give you insurance. So why would you pay $5,000 to $10,000, $15,000 a year for a policy when you're healthy? Why not wait till you get sick and then buy the policy, which you're allowed to do? So they write these crazy laws, crazy regulations, make it hideously expensive, include stuff that you may not want, like sterilization services. That may not be what you want in your insurance policy, but the government says you must offer it. You must buy it, or we will punish you. So it's so crazy, especially in this web age, where everything is at your fingertips and information is at your fingertips. You're going to have a few bureaucrats and politicians in Washington with a spreadsheet thinking they know something as complex as health care. Give me a break. But a lot's going to be broken before they finally get this rubbish out of the way. Well,
I've overstayed my welcome. We've taken up too much of your time, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing your views.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Steve Forbes here at the Simon Conference in New York City. Thanks for joining. I'm David Nelson for Newsmax.